Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll work our way through the dollar, 10-year yield, 30-year yield, precious metals, and the commodities that I follow. Obviously, I'm going to make a bunch of financial opinions as we go. And if you guys need any help with anything, definitely check out finding-value.com, become a platinum member. I can help you with finding certain companies. Again, I can't make any recommendations or anything like that, but I've got a bunch of companies. You can look at my portfolio, see how I'm set up for this coming bull market. And I've chosen a lot of, we'll say, good risk reward companies in the portfolio. So let's dive in here. Let's get into it. So we've got the DXY. Again, this is a relative strength indicator on the dollar. We are down today 0.4% on the dollar. So we do have this kind of downward motion. We've got a little short move higher here. But overall, on a bigger picture view, I do think that this is kind of like an ABC correction. I do think that we'll end up lower at some point. Yeah, there's going to be some counter moves in that move. But big picture view, I think lower on the dollar, lower on potential yields. Depending on how this plays out, yields, we're kind of at a spot where we could go either way, and I'll get into the yields and show you what I mean by that. So this is the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield's up 0.6% today, if it decides to show up. There it is. Now, we've got these large selling pressure candlesticks down here, right? And we had a weak bounce. Another kind of impulse move lower here, and we're getting another weak bounce. The way that I would view this is I think we're going to go lower, but the key point is, are we going to break through this support level to the downside? That I don't know. I don't know if we are consolidating here, ready for a move higher, or if we're going to move lower. You could say that this is potentially the Batman pattern that will eventually work its way lower. That's a possibility. Oil and its short supply may also have an impact on interest rates. And that short supply, increasing oil prices, can have an impact on the consumer price index and on inflation. Which one's going to win in the short term, I do not know. But we can say we've got stronger selling pressure here, a weak bounce, stronger selling pressure here, a weak bounce. And that generally speaks for a lower move. And we'll have to see if it breaks this trend line support level that we've got in that white line there. So that's what we're watching for. If this breaks lower, what that means is that we're going to see lower yields, and it's going to be a tailwind behind precious metals. It means there's probably fear in the market that people are running into bonds for the safety of them. If we don't get that, then we go in the opposite direction, and that's when oil takes off, platinum takes off, and the inflationary trades take off. I think we're going higher in a longer term view with yields. It's the path that we're going to take to that eventual higher yield path. I do think that we could potentially break down for a while, get a lower kind of recession, fear in the market type move where we go lower in the short term before we go into that gigantic inflationary third leg. It is possible. But again, I don't know the future. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm seeing in the charts. The 30-year yield slightly lower, but we're right on that trend line. Are we going to break lower, or are we going to break back up? I tend to think that we're going lower. I think gold, silver is going to take off. It's positioned very well, and I think yields will eventually roll over. That's what I think in the short term. But that is not proven yet. Bond prices a little bit higher today, 0.21% on the 20-year. And we're right at that resistance level. Are we going to break lower, or are we going to break higher? The markets have not determined that yet, and that's what I'm looking and waiting for, because that determines what will work and what won't and what doesn't work. If this breaks higher, there could be fear of a recession. People are running into bonds, bond prices go up, yields go down, and that screams precious metals all day. And the TYX-TNX ratio is showing us we're getting a pullback here in the short term. But that doesn't mean that's going to be a long-term move. We've come from a very high level. We've come back down to a lower level and have broken the downtrend here. If we get a move higher, precious metals, I think, are going to do incredibly well. And that is what I think will potentially happen is we're going to get a move to the upside, which means that the yield curve is normalizing or uninverting. And we got the 2-year yield. Again, we've got strong selling pressure here. That's generally the first kind of impulse move lower. We haven't had a big enough bounce really, and I do think we'll eventually work our way lower over time, but that doesn't mean we can't go up before heading lower. CRB index rocketing higher today. We had a lot higher prices kind of across the board in commodities. Copper higher, oil higher. I think nat gas was higher, and the precious metals were higher. Everything was higher. Now, we could have a situation where yields kind of go sideways and everything goes up together. That's also a possibility. If liquidity comes back in the market, we could have everything go up together, like it happened in 2002 to 2006, 7, and 8, depending on what commodity you're following. So yeah, that could also happen. The CRB to S&P 500, CRB was outperforming today, up 0.7%. It does look like it's trying to throw in a base here. Like we could turn and move on higher. Is that wave 3 where everything goes up? I don't want to claim that yet. I want to wait and see what this stuff looks like. But I'm positioned for that type of move. Gold heading higher, 12.6%. Still looks fantastic to me. Big buying pressure all through here, small selling pressure. That this way that this is moving from this point onward looks fantastic for a move higher. Looks great. Silver also confirming that bullish view. It's moving on up a little bit today. You can see the big green candlesticks, the small selling pressure looks fantastic. Platinum also joining in the mix a little bit. This is more of an inflationary metal. It doesn't play the fear trade as much, but I do think that platinum will do incredibly well in the long term. One thing I really like seeing is that the gold and silver mining companies are outperforming gold. We're up 0.6% in that relationship. So that's good. It's continuing to move up. Again, we haven't broken out of the big long-term downtrend line that I'm hoping that we break, signaling a vast outperformance of precious metals mining companies. GDX up 1.74%, still looking very strong. We have a little bit of a wick at the top, a little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day, but still looks strong. SILJ also looking strong. I think there was a little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day. On this, there it is. One thing you want to look at, that XAU to gold ratio is outperforming. That is a positive thing. I think the gold and silver mining companies will outperform gold, and I think gold will go higher because we have gold and silver mining companies outperforming it. Conversely, though, crude oil is up 2.11%. It actually looks really strong here for a move higher, looking at the crude oil chart and the candlesticks here. It looks very good. We also have natural gas looking like it's wanting to come off this bottom and start to move higher. But what is XOP doing? It's not as strong as the underlying crude oil commodity. Maybe it just takes a little bit more encouraging for the buyers to kind of come out and break us back through this trend line here, this kind of long-term trend line that we're still below. But what I'm being careful here is we've got a large selling pressure day here. We are still below this trend line here. So we could still roll over and head lower in XOP if there is a fear event. So what I'm going to say is I'm positioned for this to go higher with a part of my portfolio, but I've hedged the portfolio with a lot of big holdings over in other areas that move opposite. So when you take if you take two different areas that you have very good upside potential with low downside risk, and you pit them against each other, all you need is that outperformance of one of those assets to have a very good positive gain in the portfolio. And that's kind of how I set up the portfolio. OIH is also, I mean, we're up 2% on crude oil, but it's only up 1.5%. It's not outperforming the metal, it's the oil and energy itself. We also have strong selling pressure here, and it looks like it's struggling to get back higher. Like it's taking a lot of effort to move up, which means a lot of days, a lot of small candlesticks to move upward, and it fell quite dramatically. So I do think that there's still risk to the downside of this stuff in the short term. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust slightly lower, still above that support level. It hasn't broken in either direction really yet. We've got Uranium up 1.91%. Pretty strong candlestick. The buyers and sellers are duking it out in this circle there. It's trying to put in some sort of bottom, but we'll see if it's a continuation pattern. We'll have to see. Tan's still squeezing. This guy is squeezing to the tip of the tip of the tip. We've got copper looking fantastic, guys. Copper looks really good. We were in this this consolidation continuation pattern, and we've broken that to the upside today. It looks really good for a move on higher. That's where the diversified mining companies, I think, will do incredibly well. They're very copper rich, a lot of them that I'm invested in, and I've got a pretty big exposure to increasing copper prices. Lithium also moving a little bit higher. We're still below that resistance trend line that we're trying to break out of. We've got REMX in the same position. It's still below that trend line, but it looks like it's trying to do something down here. It's a battle between buyers and sellers. We've got a couple of areas like uranium, REMX, lithium. I think they're trying to figure out where they want to go and which direction yields are going to go. Yields will determine where all of this goes and how the money flows in the system. And that's what we're kind of waiting on. I think the S&P 500 is also kind of confused. We're like, dude, are we going to go? We're going to break here? We've got kind of this resistance line that is a shoulder, head, shoulder that looks like we could break to the upside. It looks good. Could we get an everything rally? If I start to see everything break, I'm going to be more convinced of it. But at this time, I'm kind of just being patient, waiting, seeing which direction we're going to go. I still think it's possible to go higher. This is U.S. Composite Index. We've broken to the upside of this guy, and we basically just need to break this little last resistance, get a higher high. Then we're in an uptrend. We're technically in an uptrend if we break that. Emerging markets, again, I think this looks fantastic. What I like about it is we have a low here, we have a higher low. This is, you kind of throw it in there, an inverted head and shoulders that we could break to the upside. Is this the everything rally? I kind of tend to think it might be. This could be like a 2002 moment where everything kind of rallies together. At least that's what I'm hoping for. That's what it looks like if we can get some more momentum. XHB still moving higher here. It's breaking off that support level, breakout, retest. Everything's looking good here, guys, for a move higher. MU is moving higher. Again, we've broken down, come back up, and this has some work cut out for it, but it could break to the upside if it wants. I wouldn't bet on it. I'm not really doing anything with MU at this time. Copper up 1%. Copper's very resilient. It's staying above its support level. It actually looks really good on a long-term perspective of where it's located and how it's holding above support. I am bullish on copper. I think this is going to go higher, and I think it's going to go much higher given the inventory levels of copper. So I think it's positioned very well. Lumber also staying above that support level all the way back from the early 90s. That's that white line going all the way back to the early 90s. It's still holding on. We've got iron ore dipping a little bit. Give it a little bit of time, guys. We got a little bit of selling pressure through here. It's probably going to bounce sideways and try to work that selling pressure off. Nickel just moving sideways. There we are, moving sideways there. Not much to report. Aluminum down a little bit. Again, I think we've got good, strong support in this general vicinity where it's at. So I think it'll be all right. Baltic Dry Index up a little bit, 2.3%. Baltic Dry Index looks really strong here to move higher. Newcastle Coal sideways. I think it's just going to move sideways for a little bit and kind of work off this strong selling momentum. Ethereum, it's moving up. It looks like it wants to go higher. And same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got the shoulder head shoulder, and I think it's going to move on higher for the asset there. But that's what I've got for today, guys. And again, I'm in the camp that yields could fall. I'm also in the camp that we could go higher on everything. I'm seeing technical setups in a lot of different stuff. Now we have to see which way we're going to break. I'm the most bullish on gold, silver, and platinum, the precious metals and the mining companies that mine those materials. So that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, guys, already. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. You can use the word discount in the coupon code if you want to join. We have a platinum question and answer session at 7 a.m. Saturday, and we'll see everyone there. Catch you later. This is Finding Value.